All right, so question one, we have the tidal range at a particular location is the difference in height between high tide and low tide. Okay, so the tidal range, whatever location it is the difference just between the height between the high tide and low tide. Tidal studies have shown that one of the greatest tidal ranges in the world is found in the Bay Fundy and reaches more than 17 meters. So that means there must be more than 17 meters between this high tide and low tide. Since the only forces involved in inducing the tides are the sun's and moon's gravity, the magnitudes of tidal ranges also must be explained entirely by gravitational forces. All right, so our premise, so we have since, which is always introducing a premise. And then we ask ourselves, is this an argument or a set of facts? And it's an argument, and our conclusion is this last sentence. The magnitudes of tidal ranges also must be explained entirely by gravitational forces. When we read our question, it's which of the following most accurately describes a flaw in the reasoning? So before I read the answer choices, I'm going to go ahead and predict a flaw of why the reasoning does not add up to this conclusion. So essentially what we're saying, our conclusion is saying, because the only forces involved in creating these tides is the sun's and moon's gravity. And so we're concluding that the reason that, or the magnitude of tidal ranges must also be explained entirely by gravitational forces. The flaw in the reasoning here is a pretty basic one, is couldn't there be something else that affects the tidal ranges other than just the gravitational forces? Maybe something location-based or material-based, or how weather, climate change. I would assume there's other things. So I'm looking for something that explains that there could be something else other than gravitational forces that's impacting this. So this is a top-down question, so we have to stay between the lines. So we can't bring in outside information. We're looking for something that describes exactly what happened in the passage. A, it gives only one example of a tidal range. Our problem here isn't that the Bay of Fundy is our only example given. That's not the gap between our conclusion and our support. B, it fails to consider that the size of a tidal range could be affected by the conditions in which gravitational forces act. I like that one because it's saying that we're failing to consider something. Couldn't the size of the tidal range be affected by conditions in which the gravitational forces act? Absolutely. And so when it says by the conditions in which gravitational forces act, I think that's just saying like in nature. C, it does not consider the possibility that low tides are measured in a different way than our high tides. Doesn't matter. D, it presumes without providing warrant. This means assume. So it assumes that most means more than 50%, activity within the world's oceans is a result of an interplay of gravitational forces. No, we don't assume that with this activity. And E, it does not differentiate between the tidal effect of the sun and the tidal effect of the moon. It doesn't matter what the difference is between the tidal effect of the sun and the moon, because we're saying the combination of the two is what's the only thing that can explain these magnitudes of tidal ranges. So our answer is going to go ahead and be B.